chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, welcome back to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. So this is going to be our Houston Texans versus Saints preview pod as the Saints head into H-Town to take on the Houston Texans and the rookie phenom, CJ Stroud. The good news is we're coming off of a win, and so for the first time since week 2, we were talking about stacking wins. So the big question is, can we do it again? Can we stay consistent? We're going to go over all that more like we usually do in these preview pods. But, Max, why don't you kick us off and just kind of give us your first kind of what you want to see out of this game?
I want to see some consistency. You know, last week, obviously, we had a very good performance. But much like last season, and we touched on this in the last episode, we had this little glimpse into greatness when we blanked the Raiders 24-0 last season, and then we promptly followed it up with some bad performances. We stacked a few of them in a row. So I want to see is back-to-back good, solid offensive performances. I'm not asking for them to throw for 4 touchdowns and run for another 2 or 3. Just give me another, 20. Give me a 28-point game. Like, my expectations are low. 28 points, I'm happy if it's all from the offense. So that's what I'm looking for this week. It's going to be a tougher test. It's going to be a tougher test than we thought it would be going into the season. CJ Stroud's been fantastic so far. He's yet to throw an interception. And we, on the other hand, are one of the leaders in interceptions in the NFL. So something's got to give in this game. I got to think this is the game that he throws his first interception in. So I'm looking forward to the defense stepping up, making the game a little bit harder on him than he's experienced over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if there's any game where he's going to throw his first pick, it would be the game against the team that has, I don't know where we stand in the whole league in terms of total picks, but I mean, more picks than we had in the entire last season, and very advantageous, most pass defenses. I mean, we saw the PFF stat, not the PFF grade, but the PFF stat about all the corners and their pass defenses. But here's my thing with CJ Stroud, and it's easy for fans to say, oh, rookie QB, but as a fan, I don't want the team to even, because they're going to be at the utmost level of preparation. They're not going to. No NFL player is going to be saying, or saying it in film room. Oh, here comes a rookie QB. Like, those words don't just get said by NFL players. But you always kind of wonder, us as fans, if it's in the back of their mind, right? If it's okay, we just not that we went up against anybody particularly great in the last game. Obviously, Mac Jones / Zappy, but with CJ Stroud, you just wonder if it's in the back of their head, like, okay, here comes another rookie QB. Sure, he's been doing well. As a fan, I want them to treat Stroud no different than any veteran. Because if you took any decent veteran in midseason form, and then you took CJ Stroud and you took both their stats and you blanked out both of their faces, right now you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So my thing is, I want our team to respect the passer on the other side as though he was not even a rookie. Because if we start kind of playing down to him, that's when he could surprise us, get us in trouble. My opinion.
I mean, you say play down to him. He's played above all the quarterbacks we've faced so far.
He has. But if they play him in their subconscious, the back of their head, they're like, rookie QB, we're going to tee off or we're going to do this and that. It's not going to be that simple.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on our defense would look at it this way. Especially considering how we struggled in the 2 losses on defense a little bit, as relative to the 3 wins. Where it's night and day. I mean, we were just straight up dominant.
Yeah.
In the 3 wins.
I don't think we took Bryce Young too lightly.
Yeah,
I don't think that's probably going to be a problem. We are 3rd in interceptions on the year, 6th in overall turnovers. They've only have 2 turnovers all year. So, like Max said, something's going to give.
That's a good comparison. Well, let me ask you this, Max. Like, it was you that watched the end of the Texans-Falcons game, right?
Yeah.
What did you see at the end of that game that allowed the Falcons to come back in?
I mean, there was just too much time on the clock.
But, I mean...
The Falcons were leading the whole game, though.
Yeah. Okay. It was just the Texans
Houston came back.
Right. Houston came back, took the lead with, a minute and some change left. Left too much time on the clock. Falcons went down the field and scored.
But my point is, did you see anything out of the Texans' defense that it looked like our offense could exploit? I mean, obviously, their defense couldn't protect the lead. They couldn't close it out. I mean... I didn't watch the game. That's the only reason I'm asking you about that.
Yeah, I mean, it like Nick said, they really only had to lead, I think, for probably a minute total in the entire game.
Yeah.
And so, it is what it is, man. In today's NFL, you can't leave more than 60 seconds on the clock or someone's going to go down the field. Like, if a team needs less than a field goal to take the lead, man, it's not like it was 10, 15 years ago where, you could protect a 2-point lead and you didn't have to worry about a team going down the field in a minute and a half. The rules have been adjusted. It favors the passing game. It's much easier for a team to just strike quick and go down the field.
Getting 50 yards in 2 minutes. Yeah. We all know how that goes. Now, it was a tight game all game. Atlanta took the lead in the fourth and had the lead and stopped them, I think, multiple times because I was checking in on it. Max may have been watching it. I was just checking back and forth on it. And I think we were texting about it like, oh, Atlanta scored. That sucks. And it was it was very early, I think, in the fourth. And we're like, there's no way Houston's going to come back. But then right after the 2-minute warning, Houston scores the touchdown to go up by 1 when they were down 6. And we were like, oh, we're going to.
It was basically like Gamecast via text message.
Pretty much. And then, of course, because we talked about it, we cursed ourselves, and the Falcons got. I think they had about 2 minutes left. It went down. It was 40 or 50 yards to kick the field. It was
Yeah.
And that's a gimme at this point.
Yeah.
With Young Wei Koo. Was that game in Atlanta or?
It was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the important thing, for me is that Stroud, he's protecting the ball. And that's been his primary focus when you hear him in any interview. Pre-game, post-game, he always talks about how D'Amico Ryans has stressed to him the importance of protecting the ball.
Sure.
So he's made that his number one mission.
Part of that, his completion percentage is pretty low, and that's probably part of that. He's not taking chances. So I do think we'll have to force him into those bad throws because he's obviously taking an incompletion rather than trying to force something. If you have 0 INTs and
so you're saying his throwaway percentage is pretty high?
It's got to be because he's at 61%. That's pretty low
for a guy who's trying to quote unquote protect the ball.
Right.
I mean, that being said, he's thrown for a lot of yards. So
yeah, he's almost 300 a game. But they were down in a couple games late where he got a lot of late yards too. But to be fair, they kind of blew out the Steelers and had the lead against Jacksonville. Pretty, if I remember right.
They beat them up pretty good, too.
They beat them up by the end. I think most of that was in the second half, so I don't think they scaled back, but they definitely did against the Steelers because they were blowing them out the building.
Yeah.
And he had a great game. He has, what did we say? We were just talking about this. 21 plays of 20 yards or more. So I think that's the focus is if he's completing 61%, let's make those short passes. Let's not give up the long ones.
Right.
And we probably neutralize what he's been doing this season.
Yeah. I'll say this. One thought I've had thinking about this game is, it's Houston. Yeah, no one thinks we're going to – it's not even Reliant. What is it, NRG now or something like that? We're going into Houston. No one thinks of it like the Superdome. No one thinks of it as this, incredibly adversarial atmosphere where the players have to worry about it too much in terms of environment. But one thing is – having been to a game there before, it is a place where if we let them hang around, it can be more adversarial than you would want it to be. And it presents an opportunity for our offense to do what they have to do in terms of taking the crowd out of it to where they can just go to work. I know it's not a college game or anything like that, but it's one of those situations where, like we say, not calling the Texans a bad team, but it's like if you let them hang around and you keep their crowd in it, it's going to make things much more difficult for us.
They're young, but they're not bad. They're young.
Not bad at
that's
all.
That's what I'm saying.
Man.
That's why I said I'm not calling them a bad team.
They are loaded with players. They're just
they're a team that can get if you get up on them enough
I don't agree with that, man. They don't stop fighting. I think that's a direct reflection of D'Amico Ryans. They are fighting in every single game. And I also don't agree with saying, if you let them hang around, because that implies that our offense is able to jump out on people, which we haven't really shown we can do other than this week.
I'm not saying they can. I'm just saying if.
I hear you, but at the same point.
I also don't think we're in trouble if we don't. I think we can still manage that game if we don't jump out on them and get ahead. I think
it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be a close game.
It's one of those situations where you make things much more difficult on yourself if you come out flat out of the gates.
For sure.
My
thing with this game, they can't run the ball.
Right.
Okay. They're terrible.
Neither can we, though.
No, that's true. But we're better than them. They have to be bottom of the league, averaging 3 yards a carry through 5 games. That's very low.
I mean, we can't be much higher than them. I'll say that.
So they're going to rely on Stroud, and what's our strength? We've been saying it all year. Our secondary is by far our strength in the team. So this is a matchup you feel favors us just because of what they do well. We also do very well to stop it. Defensively, they've kind of been up and down. It's hard to read. Obviously, he's an incredible defensive coach. We all know that. And we all like him, I think.
Yeah.
But, they gave up 31 to the Colts. They've had bad moments and they've had good moments. Steelers only scored 6. They held Trevor Lawrence to 17 points and won by 20. So they've kind of been all over the place. It's hard to kind of judge where they're at.
Well, to be fair, that Texans game, I think that was week 2. And that's when Anthony Richardson had the 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then he went out with an injury. And then what's his name, Minshew, actually did pretty well. So,
but still, you gave up 31 to the backup. I mean, they did score 2 early touchdowns. They scored 17 more with the backup quarterback. I'm sure he can't be happy with that defensive performance.
It's also their second game, though. At that point,
it goes back to the George W. Bush eras of Donald Rumsfeld. They're a known unknown.
They're also the first team to make Desmond Ritter look good.
It's a known unknown.
Let's be honest.
That's true. That's a good point.
Desmond Ritter has not played well yet, and he had 330 and a touchdown and beat him on the last second field goal.
I'll go back to let's use this as a segue to get into our own team. But I would go back to kind of what you said, Nick, about or reminding us rather what we said at the beginning of the year that we all said and agreed it's going to take some time, like possibly 3-4 weeks for our offense to really, with Carr under center, really look the way it's supposed to look. And so here we are, week 5. Maybe it's taken longer than we would have wanted. Well, not maybe, it has. But it's a chance for the offense to just gel more, to again, use that term stack that they used all through training camp.
We talked about it a little earlier this week that it wasn't a blockbuster performance, but
there's when you could build on it.
They made the plays. If they make the plays, the third down plays, the Michael Thomas catches, if they just make the plays when they're there, they don't have to score 30. We know that.
And there was a few passes even this game where the ball was well behind the receiver coming out of Carr's hands, and sometimes you can't tell though. I mean, like he was expecting, I forget who it was. He was expecting the receiver to settle. The receiver kept running. So then it looked like it was behind him. But the point is...
I don't know what you're talking about, but I put my money on Olave.
Yeah. May have been him. I think it may have even been Jimmy.
Well, at least he was running this week and not jogging.
It may have been the one that we thought, Jimmy, quote, dropped or was behind Jimmy, but I think he was expecting him to settle. But anyway, the point is, it's another opportunity for the offense to just take what they did good, compound on that, eliminate more mistakes. So what do you see, Max, out of our offense this week?
Well, here's what worries me first and foremost is I listened to Underhill's pod yesterday, and he's dropping the breadcrumbs about Penning possibly being benched.
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all because this is a move that is going to set him back more than anything. We all agreed on this that he needs to play if he's going to reach his potential.
If you want him good by the end of the season, he's got to play all these
He's got to play now. Yeah. And, I get the talk about Hurst, sliding back to his natural position at playing tackle instead of being shoehorned in the guard.
But he hasn't been very good either.
But he hasn't been good at all. No, and the reality is you got to take your lumps with Penning if you want him to progress to the point where by the end of the year we're able to depend on him. So
if it's even remotely close,
and here's
you have to.
But the thing is that what worries me is Underhill doesn't drop these breadcrumbs without merit for the most part.
Yeah.
So that means he's been told something that to the effect of it's going to happen. So I would not be shocked.
You think this week?
Well, look, the way it's going, I would not be shocked if something gets announced tomorrow.
That would shock me, though.
Even
with Underhill saying that, it would still shock me.
Here's what I saw out of that story, because I listened to that episode too, and I read the article. And yeah, look,
there's too much smoke.
It was another well-researched article on his part, but it is.
But he doesn't do anything without there being a reason.
I agree with
it.
that.
Yeah,
and look, it is eye-popping when you see how in years past. I got to go back to see if you compare it to last year, or if you compare it to like our more successful running years, where the run split on whether we ran to the right or to the left was an even split. But this year so far, with circumstantial evidence or direct evidence pointing to Penning, it is a much heavier split that we're running to the right than we're running to the left.
And it's also the argument of that's why the tight ends haven't been effective, is because they're being kept in the block.
That is true, and we've talked about that, and that's where I kind of deferred to Pete a little bit, saying like maybe that is the case and they've been hurt on top of it, but. Also, the right side of our line is better. Why would you not run to the right side?
Well, the reason you wouldn't run to the right side almost 100% more or 50% more than to the left is because you work in a level of predictability. I mean, kind of when he said that, I was like, well, maybe it makes sense as to why in the Bucs game, the entire defense, even though it was a failed reverse route or like there was another route to the right side, why the whole defense was just flying that way with reckless abandon. I'm not saying that's just a direct thing.
Yeah.
You know, but it's possible that a good defense like the Bucs.
What I was going to say though is like it's funny.
Your likelihood of failure going left is much higher.
Yeah, you go right.
I think you just got to go to your best players.
Well, we all know the NFL.
It's just funny though when you say predictability, and I think I texted you too multiple times over the last 2 games talking about. Oh, here comes Kirkwood and here comes Bowden. Holy shit, it's a run.
Except, can we give Corey a shout out on John Trey being back on the team?
Almost on the team.
No, because I haven't seen it official other than the Brooke Kirchhoffer tweet. Because I looked on the practice squad.
You don't trust Brooke?
And there was a article saying that Kirk Merritt is actually back with the wide receivers on the practice squad. So and there was no mention of Kirkland in there, so I don't know if
Kirkland.
There was no mention of him being there. So I don't know, man. Maybe Brooke got him confused.
So real quick, on the year,
she's messing with me if that's the case.
We're averaging 3.4 a carry.
Right.
But AK's been back for 2 games. He's averaging 4 a carry.
Yeah.
Presumably we're better because of a better play.
And so
how bad is it?
How bad is the run game?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that brings it to why I think if you make a change of this magnitude at this point, we talk about all the articles come out week 1 overreactions. You're basically doing like a week 1 overreaction, even though it's week 5, but 6. Now it's 6.
It's a horrible move if they do it.
But okay, hear me out. If Penning had let the floodgates open in pass protection for one more week, I would say, give him the hook. Get him out of there. Our QB is more important than our first round left tackle draft pick. But what are the consequences of having maybe a more predictable running attack are far lesser than the consequences of a defensive end murdering our quarterback. So because the consequences are lower if you keep Penning in, but the consequences of pulling him are much higher.
I'm looking at the long term.
That's what I'm saying, Max. So like the reasons for what you just said, those consequences to me are worse.
What looked like our best 2 run games of the year?
When Pete was in place of Hurst at left guard.
But which games specifically? Like, what do you feel?
The last one and the one before.
Correct. And that's when AK came back.
Well,
and Penning was in there for those. Yeah. And our running game was better the last 2 weeks than it was the first 3 weeks. That's my opinion. So are we trying to get, why make decisions when you don't have the complement of players that you're really working with?
I agree.
And again, this is all speculation at this point. This is reading between the lines, because a lot of times this has happened in the past where he'll drop little crumbs.
Right.
And we know he's plugged in with the team. So, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. Hopefully that's not the case this time, because it just reeks of, if it does happen, it just reeks of DA being like, I've got to save my ass here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at the expense of this player's future.
Well, because
if he gets the hook right now,
well,
you're gonna fuck him up mentally, man.
You said it wouldn't be shocking just because he said it. It would still shock me, even with because it doesn't make a lot of sense. We're on the upswing in the run game for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, here the breakdown is the consequences. The reason you would pull him is so that you can be more balanced as an offense and run it to the left and run it to the right, because like we've said, he's improved greatly in pass protection. You know, he's keeping your number one asset, your $150 man, in like upright. He has past 2 games.
Yeah, I will say this about the Underhill article. It seems like a weird time to write this article. It seemed like a few weeks ago was the time to write this article.
Right, which is why it tells me there's some smoke to it.
And I agree, but here's the thing. Okay, you pull him, then the consequences to the whole team in the long term are that, like, you lose development of him. You potentially have a guy who replaces him that's not much better. You know, it just, I think there's so many more.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, you're hammering the point that we've already made. You know, it's horrible for his long-term future if you pull him right now.
And not to say that Underhill's advocating for pulling him, but like you said, he's
no. But at the end of the day, we're obviously we're speculating here. It's just one of those situations where I've seen it play out before, where these little clues get dropped here and there, and then a couple of days later, the announcement comes down. So that's why we're talking about it. Because to me, it is a more realistic possibility than it would have been a week ago going into the last game.
Now,
so
full disclosure, of course, if Hurst comes in and has some at left tackle, has some revelatory performance, and we just run for 5 yards a carry, of course we'll be like, well, that's okay.
No. I mean, I won't. No matter how you slice it, I don't care if Hurst strings together a couple of games.
You heard Triplett chime in with his alternate argument that Penning then becomes your extra.
Yeah, and I don't like it because that guy doesn't get enough practice reps, and that's going to completely stunt his growth. And the next thing you know, this dude's going to end up being a fucking guard.
Let's be honest. That's not DA's MO either.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to shake it up. I think...
Hey, if he's desperate enough...
There's a lot of things we've talked about.
But we
look so bad, we all agree, for, essentially the first 4 weeks. It's hard to complain about winning 34-0. It's hard to find fault in anything, even if there are some. It looked really bad, but it's new quarterback. It's AK suspended 3 games. It's Penning in his second, third, fourth, fifth start of his career.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so many things that you have to get through from a cohesive standpoint in the offense. It just wouldn't make sense in week 6 to do this. If we're to week 10 and we're still seeing the same thing, okay, then hey man,
if teams are like Waterboys, the movie style, like loading up
right on
Ramchek's side and just crushing us, that's one thing. But,
and we're 5-5, a game out of the playoffs.
I mean, so we're talking about percentages. So anyway, we've beat this dead horse to death on Penning. We'll see what happens.
I say no. I say he's starting this weekend.
I hope he does. I
hope you're right, because I don't agree with again, it's all speculation, but if it happens, I'm going to hate the move, and I'm going on record saying I will hate it in the short term and in the long term.
So and Hurst has proven not to be a great tackle.
So, not only that, he's going to be 32 in about 2 months.
I know. You're really mad about the 32. I wish I was 32.
Me too. Well. That's even younger than me. So, I mean, is there anything else in the offense that y'all want to see improve or I mean, I think we need
I want to see a running back at 100 yards. I want to see Kamara. I want to see,
probably going to be Kendre.
I mean, there was a healthy split last week, which honestly is a good thing for Kamara.
Kendre got a lot of extra in the fourth quarter.
Well, no, he was getting weaved in the second quarter.
He was, but he wasn't getting an even split. It was heavy. He had 22 carries. AK. Again,
AK's more effective when he doesn't have 22 carries. You and I have been talking about that for years.
It's 15 and 7. That's AK. 15 runs, 7 catches. That's where he's kicking.
The ideal game would be for those carries to be flipped, where Kendre is getting 20 carries, AK gets 15, but then AK gets 7 or 8 catches. That's the ideal, to where we can run it back to where he was with the Mark Ingram AK
Let's talk
year
about that,
2017.
though. Are you happy where Kendre's at right now?
Look, I'm going to say this. You and I were texting about it. Like, he hasn't looked.
He looks NFL slow to me.
No,
he hasn't
I don't
looked.
think so.
I'm not going to call him slow, but he hasn't looked explosive like he looked in college.
But what about the one long pass play he had?
He didn't look
He
explosive.
did look explosive to me.
He had some good. He had some good.
He
moves
set the
on it.
blocks up very well.
I disagree.
He read the blocks perfectly. We'll
but
give him that credit.
To me, I rewatched that play several times. Someone posted it. Maybe it was John Hendricks. He looked instinctive, and
that's different than explosive.
I agree,
but I think
it's different.
Well, you heard Nick just say it.
No, it is.
He read his blocks and he set his blocks up perfectly.
But
here's what I'm saying.
I think he looked fast. And I think it's because he's deceptive. He's a big dude, so his speed is deceptive.
His speed. He looks like he's got juice, dude. If you look off his college tape,
that's speed. But I mean, his explosiveness.
He hasn't looked explosive
is
yet.
Deceptive.
No,
because
I disagree with that. He is explosive.
He looks like a running back.
Wait, I thought you said he wasn't looking explosive.
No,
he's not.
He looks explosive in any college tape you can dig up on him.
But
in the NFL, he has not looked like the same guy. Now, I did say to Nick, he still had the knee injury. He's got a brace on his knee, and he also had the hamstring injury. So, again, benefit of the doubt. He's probably not 100% at this point.
Correct.
He needs to go ahead and work through it and kind of get his legs underneath him, because he played, I think, one preseason game? Or maybe 1.5?
And that's when he hurt the knee.
And that's when he hurt the knee. So, to me, I'm not closing a book on him. I love the guy.
I'm not saying you are.
But he...
That's what I'm saying. The same thing. Not that he's a bust, but that are we confident in giving him, like you said, the 20 carries?
Not right now. Not right now.
I am going to say this though. In the back half of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, there were a couple of runs where I was like, you know what? That's what I've seen in college. It looked like he started to get his legs underneath him and started to shake it off, shake off some of the rust.
Yeah.
He looked great on the two catches. I know one of them was over 20 yards. He looked fantastic because as you said, he read the blocks perfectly and he set the blocks perfectly.
So,
I think
real quick, I don't think you've looked at the stats. What do you think he finished with in that game? Like, from watching it, what did it feel it looked like?
About 45 to 50 yards receiving and about 30 to 40 yards rushing.
On what kind of carries? Like, what kind of production?
I'm going to guess like 3.6 a carry.
I think it's pretty
ish.
It was 12 for 37, 3 yards a carry.
That's what I'm saying. Look at the stats. I think Max is...
And then he had the 33-yard catch, and then he had 3 more catches for 20.
So
right about 50. And so right what I thought.
But
you didn't look
average.
at the stats before that? I was about to say, because I looked at him too, and as you were saying that, I'm like, Max pulled it out of air pretty good there.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
But what I text you when he did that catch is like, I feel like if that was AK,
it's gone.
That might have housed.
That was a house call if it's AK.
That's going
because AK knows,
and he would have taken it inside.
Yeah,
and he'd have hit it.
And here's the thing: AK is not faster than him. Lest there be no confusion. Now, but he is more explosive than him.
He's quicker.
AK is going to reach top speed instantly. He can go, but the deal is the long speed, he's going to get run down.
Here's what I think about
Kendre should be not quite as explosive on the first 10 yards,
but
over 40 or 50.
And when I say he's slow, I don't mean he's slow. Right. I mean his movement
is catching up. Yeah.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Like
I was going to say we're kind of splitting hairs here, but
not really though, because it's a distinctive thing.
We're splitting hairs between like who's more explosive as a metric in the first 10 yards, but where we're not splitting hairs is
I can tell you
the ability. Hear me out.
Definitively looks more explosive right now is Kamara.
And here's why I think that is after watching, a decent sampling, I guess, of Kendre, is that as a rookie, you can tell that when he takes a handoff, he's still not wholly comfortable with hitting the hole.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's assigned.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't mean that, but I'm extremely optimistic about when he does feel comfortable and it's just kind of natural that, like, I got the ball from the QB and I'm just going. I'm extremely optimistic about that because I think when that clicks, you're going to see something special because
But our point is, we haven't seen that yet.
We haven't seen it. No, we have not. I agree with you 100%. We have not.
And that's in the context of, do we give him that many carries? Like Max, we would like to see him as a lead, not a lead back, but a lead carries.
I don't even think you let him crack the 15 carry mark until he's had another training camp under his belt.
Fourth quarter. He's an 8 carry
I don't agree with that at all. I don't. No.
I mean, well, especially when you get Jamaal Williams back. I mean, there's no reason to give Kendre Miller 15 plus carries.
There is, because he is the fastest of those three running backs.
The reason you don't give him 15 handoffs is because you saw it in the Patriots game that while he's still figuring out the zone reads and the cutbacks and all that stuff from the handoff position, you saw him more natural when the ball was out to him in space. I'm fine with him getting 15.
Which is funny because that coming out was not at all his game.
I know, but he has said it, and he's been on record.
He's the one-cut go guy.
He's a one-cut go guy. What I texted Nick, what I texted Nick was, I said, I want to see Kendre get as many carries in the late third and early fourth quarter as possible.
Like last week.
Like last week, that was the ideal. I'm like, I don't want to see Kamara in the fourth quarter. There's no point in having him in the game.
When you're up that big, yeah.
Well, there's no point in having him in the game at that point. None. That team was not coming back.
When you were up that big.
Obviously, Corey. Yeah. But there was no chance of them coming back. That team is awful. Bill Belichick retired in the offseason, didn't tell anybody.
But like Corey said, when you're just slamming someone into the line, let's let Kendre do that.
Let Kendre do that. Let him get his hits. Let him learn his timing. Let him get, game
reps, like we say with Penning. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So all of these young guys need the game reps, whether it's Penning, whether it's Kendre, whether it's Jordan Howden. They all need the game reps.
Like college game at that
Foskey,
point.
I didn't get a chance to I didn't notice it as much if he was, one of the guys. He needed to be in the game in the entire second half.
Yeah.
These guys have to be in the game at that point.
Once it was clear the Patriots offense wasn't.
But I'm going to tell you, I strongly disagree with your take that Kendre does not need 15 carries until he has another training camp under his belt. Because here's the deal. Jamaal Williams is not fast. Jamaal Williams is not really explosive. Like, he is just a strong runner who gets what's there. Alvin Kamara is very explosive.
A lot.
It is a lot in the NFL now. 15 is a lot.
In the context of our
offense,
I think it is. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm fine. Like down in the last four or 5 weeks of the season, like when we're in that stretch run, Kendre better be ready to handle 18, 20 carries and let Kamara get to the
okay. So
that's a full-time role. That's a starter running back role.
When all three are back,
yeah. But this is what Kendre needs to be getting these carries.
Then why did we sign Jamaal Williams?
Max, yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to ask. Max, so end of the season, all three are healthy. Let's assume Kendre's got his knee brace off. He's full speed.
I love Kendre. I think he's great. But
Jamal's full speed. Kamara's still healthy. We didn't give him too many carries. What do you see that split in that playoff run of trying to get in the playoffs last 4 weeks? What would be your ideal situation with Kamara, Williams, and Kendre in that split?
My ideal is that Kamara is getting 15 carries, no more than that, and he's getting 10 targets. First and foremost, that's the ideal from Kamara.
That's a lot, though. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Honestly, 12 to 15 carries for Kamara.
So if he didn't have a drop, he'd have 25 touches.
I want Kamara to get at least 20 touches. 20 touches is what
in close games. I want him to have as little as possible in if we're ahead like last week. I would have loved to see him have way less touches last week. I think he had 24 touches.
Well,
absolutely.
I would have loved to see that at 15 last week.
Kamara is your equivalent of like the unmanned drone of your offense, where like you can strategically decide if he's peak and if your offensive line is doing what they're supposed to do. Like Max, you can be more not effective but efficient.
We've seen what happens when you run Kamara into a brick wall over the last 2 seasons. It's not what he's built to do. It's not what he's meant to do.
Last year was better. The year before
was better, but he averaged 4.0 a carry last year, which is not good in today's NFL.
And the year before was 3.7. Right. That was the messed up Peyton year when we had it was just a mess.
Kamara's ideal is in that Reggie Bush quote unquote
less than 200 carries. Less than 200 carries.
Less than 200 carries. The Reggie Bush quote unquote satellite back role. He does not need to have more than 15 carries in any game.
Quick,
if we're in
Corey
the playoffs
says he
or
might
the
be
Super
the
Bowl,
second best Saint ever, and he's never had 1,000 yards rushing.
We'll touch on that during the bye week.
Those are stats, man.
That's a Caden Ellis level take.
This might be a future episode.
Oh God, that might be your worst take ever, by the way, and that's saying something. Anyway, back to the original question.
Best. No, I think it would be third because Breeze is the best, and then it was whether or not he could beat out either Ricky or Rofe. And I said he couldn't beat out Ricky, but there's an argument for Rove.
There's no argument.
Really? Okay, that's a tough one. I
That's-
mean, Rove didn't
anyway.
play his whole career here, so maybe, but that's tough.
We're veering off path.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it down the road.
Just
Yeah,
a
we'll
little,
cover that one during the bye week.
Speaking of breadcrumbs, like Underhill,
right.
that's a breadcrumb.
That's
We'll cover that during the bye week.
We'll get it done.
So ideally, Kamara no more than 15 rushes. I would say ideally about 10 to 12 rushes.
Yeah.
And
See,
about,
I'm with that number. I like 12 for Kamara, and I want him way more in the passing game, in the slot. I would love to see 7-8 catches and 12, 13
I'm
carries.
fine.
So I say 10 targets to get to the 7 or 8 catches.
I'm fine with the Reggie Bush comparison, except
He's way better.
he's way better.
Yeah.
And Reggie was used a lot deliberately as a decoy. You know what I mean? Like Peyton talk about Joker guys all the
Which
time.
was smart.
That's
That was
smart.
No,
I mean,
you-
do
no,
the
it's
same
brilliant.
thing with Kamara. That's
But
fine.
I think Kamara's got too much on the table for when the ball touches his hands to be purely a decoy.
I mean, we say that, but you're taking away from Reggie. He had his moments where he was just.
But
course,
as far as
no.
an overall player, AK has
AK's
been
a much better
far
player.
That's what I'm saying.
superior
Like,
player.
I think you got to somewhere between. the
Hold
Reggie-
on, let me answer the original question. You guys keep jumping in on
Okay,
this.
we need to get to Jamaal and Kendre
Exactly.
after Kamara for Max.
Thank
and
you.
then Corey will take it from there.
Right. So, as far as those two, my ideal scenario is Kendre overtakes Jamaal on the depth chart by the back 4 or 5 games of the season. Because ideally, going into the season, you looked at Kamara's contract, and the way it is written currently, he's probably on the team next year, but after that, his cap number explodes into the mid-20s.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I want to say it's almost 30
He's
mil
getting
for a
like-
running back, which is absolutely not going to stay that way. Now, for a running back at that point who will be about 30 years old, are you going to extend him another 3 or 4 years?
No.
Probably not. So the
I'll
reality
answer that
is,
right out. No way.
Yeah, so the reality is there's a possibility this is his last season on the team. If not this year, the next year, yeah.
I think it is next year.
I think it's next year. Jamaal Williams, same age as Kamara. Got some tread on his tires too. Never was explosive. He's on that same timeline. Granted, he doesn't make near the money that Kamara does, so it's not as pressing to say, you know what,
They're both here next year.
I think they're both here next year.
Kamara
That following year, I
and
don't think
Jamaal.
either one of them is on the team.
I absolutely see that scenario unless we see some sort of like rejuvenation from Kamara where he has a similar season to win the Drew Brees year.
Right.
I mean,
right now,
Then maybe we sign him to a 1 or 2 year
Jamaal
deal
Williams
again.
is a long-term rental. I mean, a good one.
he's not even a long-term rental. Jamaal Williams is a short-term rental.
Well, I
Like
said
you
rent-
look at his contract,
Well, I'll say
you can get
It's 2 years.
short-term, but
you can get out of his contract pretty quickly. So I think the idea with drafting Kendre in the 3rd round, because that's about where you pick your running back that's almost expected to start in year 1 nowadays. That's where you pick those guys. So to me, the ideal scenario is Kamara, 10 to 12 rushes, 7 to 8 catches. Kendre overtakes Jamaal, is effectively the primary lead rushing back, getting about 15 carries a game. Jamaal gets 8 to 10 carries a game. That's the ideal.
And keeps his goal line
And keeps his goal line.
because he is.
Jamal's an animal on the goal line. That is his forte. That's what he does great.
got a
AK
nose-
has been pretty good in his career too.
got a nose
Those-
for
AK has,
Yeah.
but the reality is, if you can line up the two of them in the backfield with Taysom at the quarterback, you've got endless weapons at that
You
point.
also
love
just
that.
said 35 carries a game with no Taysom.
You
That's a lot of
also
run
asked me
game.
my ideal scenario, and
if you-
honestly, Taysom has 3 carries this year through 5 games?
No,
he's got more
that's
than
not
that.
right. He had 9 in one game.
Did he? Look
yeah,
it up. He doesn't have
9 for
that.
75 in that one game. The what game was that?
Look up his stats. You got the computer. He doesn't have much
Tennessee.
rushing though. It's not like last year where he started off with
We called him the
250
MVP
yards.
that one game where he had 75 yards. Right? Am I crazy?
He had 3 touches in New England.
Hold on.
I don't think. It
All
was
I
a
know
rush.
is Taysom at this point last year had about 250 yards and was averaging about 8.5 a carry.
But I think you're way off on that.
So let me,
I might be, but my point is, you asked me what the ideal is. That's what my ideal is. Do I think that's? Hold on, Corey. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't think that's going to happen because injuries are coming to play.
All right, real quick. Taysom on the year, 23 for 120, 5.2. So
Yeah,
that's about where you
That's
want
good.
him to be. He's on pace for 500 yards. I think that's where you
absolutely.
want
I think Taysom needs to be touching the ball.
Yeah.
Especially with the way Carr is in the red zone. But you asked me for my ideal. That is my
Taysom. Snuck
ideal.
that in there. You saw that?
Ideal.
You asked me for the ideal.
It was a good
That's
game in the red zone this week. All right,
That's a Corey move right there to say, like you said.
Yeah, you asked for the ideal. That's the ideal. The reality, I don't think that's going to happen because I do think there will be injuries. You know, who knows how long Jamal's injury is going to linger.
I'm going to say if we're running the ball that many times a game, we're doing real well.
Doing real
I'm
well.
all for it. I'm
now,
all for it.
you were the one that this past week talking
He
about.
said ideal. He said ideal.
We need to be running. We need to be running. You know, protecting.
I do. I want to see us. I want to see us not
so
take a
that
lot
to
of
me
chances.
is the ultimate complementary football for this defense that we have currently. They need to be kept fresh because there are some old guys on that defense.
Oh, there are. Yeah.
You know, Cam, DeMario, Matthew in particular. So those guys need to be as fresh as possible. So that's my ideal scenario.
Scares me.
Will it happen? It's absolutely not going to happen.
Scares me.
But that's what the ideal is.
We're on pace for 19 turnovers. We have, I think, 6 through 5 games. One of them was the Jameis throw that meant nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's throw that one out.
6 through 5. Yeah.
So 5 through 5 games. That's one a game. I think if we keep in that area and we don't give games away, that we can win a lot of games
If
with
we
this
could
defense.
get Derek
Why?
Carr's good for every game, bad throw to good for every other game, I'll even take that. I mean,
We would all take that at this point.
But again, only 2 picks through 5 games for him. No fumbles.
Yeah.
That's not from
not
a turnover standpoint.
It's
we're
not
not
bad.
messing up there.
Yeah.
We're messing up in execution and getting the big play. That's really what we're missing. So if we can continue going down that path of protecting the ball, which I know some people have said, "Oh, we've got turnover." We don't really. We're doing very well.
Yeah, we're doing good.
We're doing great.
We're in the plus, right?
Yeah, we're in the plus by a lot. We're in the top 10, right around 10th in the league.
Just keep
Now, that's a lot of that due to the defense getting turnovers.
They
at a
forced
at a
fine.
fantastic
Like,
rate
here's
right
the thing.
now.
Keep
But
it,
we only
keep-
have 6.
But here
6
we-
turnovers. That's not bad. That's
Here, it's simple.
Could we run,
This
punt?
whole thing is simple.
That
Keep
might
it in the
work.
plus. Keep it in the plus on turnovers. Run the ball. Defend the run. We seem to run circles around just doing that so much,
think we
and so
have a
that's
tough
why.
time.
But that's why I agree with Max to an extent. I think I just disagree with him. I might flip flop the personnel on his carries.
Why would you want the older guy who's about to who probably won't be on the team in a year
Jamal?
or two? Yeah,
because he loves Pokemon.
Because he's a lease that we're gonna crash into the bridge when we're done with it. No offense to Jamal, but
Here's the thing about this team.
Kendre's a good, talented, potential gem. I don't want to send him in on the crash test dummy site, just running into the line at a line that has not proven itself to clear way
Well,
for him.
But no,
as we
he needs to
touched
run the
on,
ball. He needs to
he
run the
needs
ball.
to run the
He needs to
ball.
run the ball. I don't think he needs
But
to
I'm
be
a little less than Max. I'm with you a little bit.
bell cow
Right.
type guy.
In that, I think if we get Kendre 125 carries and 25 catches this year, we did a good. But that's not a lot. That's seven a game. And
Okay.
I just want that ratio
what,
by the end of the
2
year to be
1 or 2 catches a game. If we just get him that level of experience and go into next year, I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be the 15 carries. 7 or 8 carries, we just get him experience and get him going.
I'm with that.
I'd rather see all 3 of them have 750 yards rushing.
That'd be amazing.
That's my ideal.
I would love
I'm
to
all for it.
see a wing T offense.
Now, here's a
Running
question
option
about.
with Carr. I don't know.
Here's a question about
got
Jamal. Here's a question about Jamaal Williams.
Get the
So
Navy
everybody, talks about him like he's and the evidence points to it that he's an elite over the last 2 years, an elite goal line runner. I mean, how much of this is the Detroit Lions offense? Because I'm looking at David Montgomery right now,
He was
who
good
is
in the
just
Packers
going
too. He
fucking
was good with the
bananas.
Packers too. I don't think that's fair.
He was good, but I mean, he's not. He's never been an explosive back. Like
He's not explosive, but you're talking
is
goal
goal
line.
line.
You're talking
Yeah.
goal line.
But-
he was always good at that because they would take out Aaron Jones and they would put him down.
I
the
remember
corner.
when I had Aaron Jones in fantasy when Jamal Williams was in Green Bay,
And you hated
I
Jamal
was,
Williams.
and I was like, shit, man,
Hated him.
I was like, do I need to go pick up Jamal Williams because he seems to be, so he's. But that was a few years ago, of course. But
I'm
Well,
gonna
hold
say
on.
this.
Actually, 1 year, 2022, he had 17 rushing touchdown. Before that, rookie year 4, second year 3, third year 1, fourth year 2, fifth year 3.
it's an argument to be
Then
made.
17. This year we can't say anything.
But I agree. But he was down there and he was good at it. I'm just telling you. Go look
okay,
at
I'm
the
just pointing out stats.
and his career looks good. Don't knock his career. What's his career rushing average per carry?
Didn't he have 1,000 yards last year?
He did.
4.0, 1,000 yards one time,
Last
and over 4 touchdowns twice.
Yeah, but he was never the lead back except in Detroit.
I hear you, but
Never.
I mean, at the same point,
If you've got Aaron Jones, you're not giving Jamaal all those carries.
He passes.
My point is, though, right now he had an amazing year last year. Other than that, solid running back.
He passes the Bobby Abear test.
Carry. He's a perfect backup running back, which is what he is. And he's a short yardage guy if you have a decent
I'm just saying, ideally, he is your third running back.
He passes the
third?
What have you done for me lately test?
This gets you excited?
Well, yeah, it does. For a second running back to have
I'm looking at
556, 464, 460, 505, 600, 1,000, 4.0 in his career, 30 touchdowns. That's a great backup running back.
Okay, take away the 1 year. It's not.
Well, look.
Okay, it's 13 in 4
Let me recenter this.
Look at the Super Bowl year. What would you, do the pecking order. Running back 1, running back 2,
Super Bowl year
3,
for who?
For us. So it was Reggie, Pierre, Mike Bell.
Yeah, I think Reggie in the run game, Mike Bell was more important than Reggie in the run game.
That's why I like Jamaal to fit the Mike Bell
I would say
role.
Mike Bell was 600-700 yards that year. What was
it? Was like 560.
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for. To be the Mike Bell role.
I don't see him as. I think Jamaal is in. Ideally, he's a number 3. You want ideally your third round pick
real
to
quick,
jump over.
In what context? Because if he's your like true running back, carries wise, he's a number 2 running back for sure. He's not explosive.
I prefer him as, on this team. If we had not drafted Kendre, I'd be like, yeah, fine. He's our number 2. Run him into the ground.
Let's just say this.
Given that we spent a third round pick on Kendre, I want Kendre, the 21-year-old guy.
I want that too,
but then you're getting into the sunken cost argument. Like Kendre and Alvin have to be 1 and 1A of the guys who can be run it when you need to run it, but get those guys in space. And then Jamaal Williams needs to be the guy who's just going to crack the heads between the tackles when it needs to be done.
Yeah, the number 3.
I mean,
but I'll be honest with you. If we're up 14, I'm fine with Kendre getting those tackles. Mm-hmm. When we're up 6 and we're trying to run at the clock, I want Jamaal in there.
Kendre doesn't need to be cracking his skull.
I don't know, man. I want a guy that can break a
tackles.
long run at that point. That can break a game open.
But you don't.
I want the guy who won that game on the carry, smashing one up the middle. I want that guy.
Well, no, ideally, yeah. At that point, yeah. But I don't think Jamaal is that guy who's winning you the game in the first half. So
he's also got in his career 162 catches for 1,200 yards and another 8 touchdowns. He's 38 touchdowns in a 6 and few games career.
He can do it.
That's legitimate.
It's the 1 year that really pumps those numbers up. If we're being honest,
it was the most recent year.
I mean, I agree. That's his biggest year. The year before. What did he have with them? Because he was definitely the backup. 3 touchdowns, 157. He had 750 total yards. So that's a great second running back, Max.
Right.
That's great.
That's great. I want him as the number 3 on this.
So here you go. Total yards. First year, he was not maybe. Well, no, he had. What do you have? 800 yards. Second year, he had almost 700 yards. Then he had 700 yards, 700 yards, 750 yards, 1,100 yards, and now he's with us. That's a pretty consistent, great backup stat.
I want him as 28 years old, the way he is, with the younger,
this year, next year,
more explosive guy. I want him as the number 3. I want him touching the ball third out of those guys.
Can you agree that's a luxury at number 3?
Let's settle this.
But that's the luxury we got once we drafted Kendre Miller.
It goes back to what we said. Who gives a shit about 1, 2, 3? It's how we use them. Okay, like we're not calling play. I don't want Carmichael calling plays thinking like, well, I want to run this play, but that running back's number 3, so I can't run to that guy. I want him thinking.
No one's arguing for that. No one's arguing for that,
Let me finish. But that's what you're insinuating when you're saying 1, 2, 3.
That's not what I'm insinuating, Corey. No one is saying.
You said you want him as a number 3.
This has to be a number 1. This has to be a number 2.
But then why even use 1, 2, 3?
What did I say 3 minutes ago? I said ideally they all have about 700, 750 yards rushing, which means we're doing a fantastic job.
Just let me. We talk about this enough. We're too focused on stats.
I'm focused on the guy that can bust a game open.
Right.
And that's what I
use
want
them
in the
way that they're most their most advantageous way of finding success, and at least for this year, for Kendre Miller, that is, don't put him in an uncomfortable position. Don't set him up for failure. He's NFL slow because he's not. He's NFL slow because he's not run through zone read.
If he's at that point at the end of the season, we're in trouble with him.
I'm still finishing the thought.
If he's at that point at the end of the season, we are in trouble with him.
What point? If he's at one point.
If he is not able to go ahead and get in the game and carry the ball more than 8 times.
So let's phrase it this way.
You put him in space. That's what you do this year.
Yes.
You put him in space.
You start him off with that, and you work him into it.
So
that means
Kendre, you want in. I think what Corey's trying to say. If
I'm trying to say, but I keep getting y'all keep
but
talking.
real quick, Kendre
Say
in there when you're not. To me, if you're trying to run out the clock, it's Jamaal. If it's not trying to run out the clock, we want to get Kendre in there. He's got a little bit more juice, maybe. Right? We give him a few of those in. But if we're in that 4-minute offense, who do you want in there, Corey?
4-minute offense, you're running out the clock. We need
two running backs.
We need 2 first downs.
Out of all of our running backs?
We're running it 6 times.
I want Alvin Kamara in there.
If we're running it 6 times.
Our best player in there when we need something.
If they know we're running, I want Jamaal Williams in there.
If I'm a fan and we need something on offense, if we need 3, if we need 6, and I see Kamara on the sidelines, I'm blowing a gasket.
I get that point, but if they know we're running, they know it's a run play. Who do you want in there?
Like a 4th and 1, 3rd one? Jamaal Williams.
I'm going to agree with.
I'm with
what was the last one?
If you know we're running out the clock. That's all we're doing.
Or Taysom.
Where Kamara's pass game, Taysom's a great
Taysom's my answer.
I'm not going to knock that one.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you want Taysom and Jamaal in there?
Yes.
To run out the clock?
Yeah, to run out the clock, absolutely.
Let's have Taysom quarterback with Jamaal as the running back.
So
I don't want Kamara in that situation. Do you?
Oh, no, not if the pure goal is 1 yard.
Correct.
If the pure goal is 1
that's
yard.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
1 yard, put Taysom at quarterback, put Jamaal behind him. Absolutely.
We should retitle this episode the running back episode.
Running back room.
Hey, it's fine.
But
It's the RB room.
we're flowing, we're cooking, it's all good. But let me just say it. I'll say it quicker. I'll do you a favor
Please
here,
do.
Max.
Let him finish.
Max
let him
Max
finish.
loves to talk for 10
Go
minutes.
ahead,
and then
Corey. If I miss something, go ahead.
Just put this year. Kendre is not comfortable enough yet to. And look, I know you're not happy about it.
No, you said this year. We don't know if it's this year. The beginning of the year, you are correct. In November and December, we better hope he is comfortable.
I'm okay if our rookie. Hold on. I'm okay if our rookie running back, even this year in November, December, is not comfortable to a level of being instinctive
For Corey.
to run an inside zone.
Playoffs. Wild card weekend. Where do you want Kendre to be wild card weekend? In the role in the Saints.
I want him to fit the Joker role closer to what Reggie did.
That's not him.
I think it is. Just because he didn't do it in college.
So explain it. Go ahead. Keep going.
So
don't talk, Max.
We keep
Real
going
quick.
back to he was a between the tackles runner in college. He didn't have that many passes at the backfield in college. But if you go back to, talk is cheap and all that shit.
Don't
but
talk about high school right now. I'll die.
Jesus Christ, please.
I wasn't. Hey, you brought that up. I wasn't even going there. We talked enough about that with Jono. Shout out Jono, Holy Cross Jesuit. But you did it, Max. Nick. Which one are you? But
so make your point. Where do you want him wild card weekend?
I think
I
think he can fit the Joker role. I think just because he didn't do it in college doesn't mean he can't do it.
So define the Joker role.
When you see Carr drop back the play when Kendre had the 35-yard
and he flared
run.
out, got the catch. Yep. Uh-huh.
The way he made guys miss in open space was just instinctive. He caught the ball. It was a terrible pass from Carr. Rewatch that. Carr threw a duck to him, and he still picked it up off the ground, saw his blockers, saw the guys, made guys miss, made it look easy. And his speed was a little bit deceptive, kind of like Deuce. And so I think he fits naturally into that pass-catching Joker role, even though that wasn't his role in college. Fuck a TCU. Seriously, fuck that school. But, they didn't use him.
But when you
right.
agree Kamara is better.
Kamara's so much better.
Right, okay.
No, Kamara.
So where do you see him fit in beneath?
Kamara is like your Pierre Thomas on steroids. And then, he runs, he does the screens.
Based on what you're saying in the playoffs, you don't want Kendre to get a catch because Kamara's there.
Yeah. I think
logically, that's what
Kamara
you would
is your
want to
running
say,
back pass catcher option.
When the shit's on the line,
number one.
It has to be Kamara.
But there's a situation in a playoff game context where you don't need 1 yard, you need 5, you need 6.
Of course.
And then you throw in, and maybe hopefully Prentice is in orbit at that time.
Stop it. He needs to be off the team
That's
by
what
that
I'm
point.
saying. Hopefully your fullback is not there. And that's a lot for me to say we don't need a fullback, but hopefully there's no fullback on the
This
team
is
at that
my
point.
vote for Jamaal Williams as fullback and get rid of Prentice.
So in a wild card, my ideal is in a wild card game or in a hopefully divisional whatever, is that you can put Kamara when you don't need 1 yard, you need 5-6. You put Kamara and Kendre in at the same time, whether it's one in a wing, split back
see
formation,
a lot of that. I can.
and then as a defense, because they've both done it, you don't know which one's taking the inside reads
run play. You don't know which one's flaring out. You don't know which one's running the choice option. That's the ideal.
Putting Kamara in the slot with Kendre in the backfield would be
that
really
would be
amazing.
ideal.
I would love it, but I just disagree with the idea that Kendre Miller should be a 15 carry back. Maybe that's who he was in college, but Jesus Christ, he had a knee injury in week 1 for us. Like, let's give the guy a break from that shit. Like,
well, we're
that's
not trying to put pressure. I don't think Mac's trying to put pressure on Kendre.
No.
I think he's trying to say, let's hope Kendre's that guy.
I think
Once
Kendre
again,
is like the toy that
word.
Max is about to break. I think
Then why did we pick him in the 3rd round if he's a toy that's that fragile?
I don't think he's fragile as a whole, but I think you use him in the right way.
Corey,
They're
I
all
didn't
fragile.
say
They're
I didn't
running
say
backs.
they hand him the ball 30 times next week.
15 in this year's NFL is like 30.
You're still not listening. I didn't say to hand him the ball 15 times.
I
literally said,
You said
we
15 touches.
work him up
15 carries.
to the point where by the back half of the year, when I say back half, I'm talking about the last 4 or 5 games.
the most important games.
The most important games, he is able to handle 15 carries if we need it, because that's when people are getting banged up, people are getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like, what is Jamal's injury, by the way? Is it hammy or is it?
It was hammy, but he's on IR, so I don't know.
That's the kind of injury that can kind of linger, man. It's there's no guarantee.
The one thing I will say with Kendre, last week was his best week, and you just make sure Jamal does not come back before it's fully better.
Yes.
We have that luxury.
We have that luxury, so take advantage of that luxury.
At the end of the year, if we're talking last 4 games to get in the playoffs, let's say we're a 6-6 team. We got 5 games left. I don't know that I want to see a ton of Kendre like Max. I think I want to see the experienced guys, but it would also be great if Kendre got in on, more explosive, gadgety plays, screens where him and Kamara were in, where Kamara's in the slot. Stuff like that I really like. I think he's a much better receiver than Jamaal, most likely.
100%.
Even though that hasn't been his forte in college, it's looked okay from what we've seen.
More than okay.
I think you're selling Jamal short on that. You just told me the numbers of him receiving over his career. He's done a good job of it.
Kendre blows Jamal out of the water.
We've seen Kendre catch like 3 passes this
The one
year.
in the
Let's slow
preseason,
down
that
hype.
one catch kind of like turned
That
me
was
a little
really
bit.
good catch. That was a really good
That
catch.
was a ridiculous
But
catch.
Let's be fair. The sample size right now is less than 5
It's
catches.
one,
So.
but it was a catch
Jamal Williams isn't doing that. He's
no,
not.
very few running backs in the league are making that catch.
Very
right?
few receivers in the league. I mean,
So maybe it's optimistic. It could be. It's a sample size of 1.
Hey,
but
hopefully it's not, and hopefully he can take Kamara's place when Kamara inevitably gets cut because of that contract.
Yeah.
It is coming sooner rather than later.
I think you're right about that in that they're both gone after next year,
Yeah.
Jamal included, and it's Kendre's team. Hopefully, I think that's what we're hoping for. That he's that good of a guy.
So for now, even at the end of the year, let's not bust his head into the line. 15
no one's saying
times.
bust his head. That's not busting his head into a line, Corey.
With this,
I'm with Max in this context.
With this
if
offensive line,
we're up 20, I want Kendre getting as
20
many
carries at
touches
that
as
point,
possible.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, like a college game.
Correct.
Give him the reps.
Especially against probably a second team defense that's pulled back
But
a
if
little
we
bit.
need to run
Let's get him experience.
And
need to run the clock
this is the
out.
last thing I'm going to say on it, because
Jamal.
we've spent entirely
It's
too
a
much
lot
time
on
on this.
Kendre Miller.
This is a lot on the running backs.
What I want Kendre Miller to do, and I'm not expecting him to do this as quickly as Kamara did, because Kamara's performance in practice and in the games shoved Adrian Peterson right off of the roster within 4 weeks of that season starting. I'm not asking for Kendre to shove Jamaal Williams off the roster in 4 or 5 weeks.
No.
What I want him to do is by week 13, 14, 15 is to make the coaches say, you know what? This kid gives us a better chance to bust some long plays. He's handling catches. He's able to handle the carries. Let's hold Jamal back for that sledgehammer roll at the goal line, or if we're trying to run the 4-minute offense. That's what I'm asking for. That's not an unrealistic
And where I'm
expectation.
worried, like we've talked about, is that I don't see it yet.
I don't see it yet either.
It looks
Yeah.
a little bit mechanical. He's obviously a running back. Like Corey said on that screen, he did everything right except for the explosion to make it a huge play.
Agree.
He
You
did
said
everything
Kamara
right.
houses that more than likely.
I think he does. I think he
I
takes
agree.
it inside the hash, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And Kendre's faster than AK.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about like the little bit of difference. He did a great job. I'm not knocking. It was a 33-yard broken play. He set up the blocks perfectly. He played right into it. He beat a couple guys. Awesome play. The difference between an all-pro and what Kendre did, there's a difference there. From
I don't think anybody's arguing that. Yeah.
No one should be
no one's
upset
arguing
about that.
Right.
We hope he figures that out. So a couple years down the road, he is that. I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I stick to the fact that like this isn't his year to be the
big dog.
The big dog.
I don't want to. Look, again, I'm going back to 750, ideal. That's the ideal. Y'all asked for the ideal.
That would be good.
That's the ideal.
That would also mean we're
man.
winning a lot of games. If Jamaal Williams and Kendre have 750, we're winning a lot of games.
man.
So I'm all for it.
That means a lot of play action pass.
How many
which we've
Taysom
all
get? Well,
There's
advocated
so many
for.
stats about like if we just simply have so many rushing attempts or simply have like if Taysom Hill has so many
You know why
touches,
that's the dumbest stat
then we're
ever,
like
though? Real quick.
31-0.
You know when you have all those rushing stats? When you're winning the game by a lot of points.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, it's a bullshit stat. Let's calm down over like, if we run Taysom 12. Well, if we're running Taysom 12 times, we're probably winning.
I don't agree. I don't agree with them. It's just that you always see that shit thrown out.
It's
there.
funny. I know.
And
I
you're
love
like,
it. I think it's so funny. All right.
Yeah.
So after
45 minutes
where
of,
are we at? I don't even
I think
know.
we should talk about the running
It's
backs
too
more.
much. We've settled it. I think none of us know what the right answer is, but
We don't.
now we have to pick where we're going on this game. Max, you want to start that? You pick first this time.
Okay.
What you got?
Let's see. I'm going to go ahead optimistically this week. I think last week was the first time ever I picked the Saints to lose on any platform, whether it was in
To be
text
fair,
message,
you and Corey
BYU.
were the first two to pick us to lose anything so far.
First,
Yeah, and the only reason you didn't pick us
It's
to
because
lose was
y'all
because
did.
you went last, and we needed
I
somebody
still get
to.
credit.
first in
Still get credit.
podcast history, picking
Yeah.
us to lose.
So I'll go ahead and say we win this one. I'm going to be optimistic this week and say that we keep the momentum from last week going. I'm going to say we score 27 points.
Whoa,
You
all
get 2 groupie field goals and 3 offensive touchdowns this
Whoa,
week.
that's a big offensive game.
This is in our standards. This is a huge offensive
27
game.
whole offensive points.
That's about the
27
same
points.
as the Dolphins scoring 70, I think.
It really is. It really is.
if we could only do it against Sean Payton.
So I'm going to go ahead and say 27, and I think the Texans score. I'll say 17. I think this one's actually. I think it's close, but I think.
You think we scored maybe the last touchdown late to put it away? Okay.
Yeah. It feels like.
All right.
It feels like finally a long run is going to get busted by one of our running backs.
Who you got?
I'm tempted out of spite right now to say Kendre pops a long run in the
Max
in
is
the
on
fourth
tilt.
quarter.
He's mad right now.
But no, not really. But
No,
I'm
he's
going to
not.
go
He's
ahead
not
and
mad.
say offensive MVP Kamara.
What's he going to have?
He's going to have over 100 combined yards, and he scores 2 touchdowns.
Whoa, that's a call. All right. What else you got?
And then defensive, I'm going to go back to Marshawn. I think it's been a few weeks since I said his name.
Not me. I say it every week.
Yeah, so to me, it's going to be
Nick's got
Marshawn.
the decal on his car.
Marshawn's going to get he's going to get an interception of C.J. Stroud,
His first of the year?
first of the year.
Only of the game, or we turning him over?
Say that again.
I'm saying, is he going to have the only turnover of the game, or are we going to
You know
force
what?
turnovers
I'm feeling spicy. Marshawn has 2.
2 picks, career
Let's
high.
Not only does CJ
Career
throw his
high.
first one, he throws his first 2 to the same guy.
No, he's due for it, first and foremost.
Yeah,
and I
of
think
course
he
he is.
starts to press a little bit because we're going to be. I think we get ahead on this one, just due to having a ball control offense. Kamara getting the 100+ yards. He's going to have to press a little bit more, and I think he makes a mistake because our secondary is loaded. And I think, yeah,
That makes
Two
sense.
INTs. I
Kamara,
like it.
Lattimore, boom.
That's good. All right, Corey, what you got?
Wait, why are you going last?
I'll go first. You want me to go?
Yeah, you went last week.
Yeah,
I did.
We
All
went
right,
we just went in the
I'll give
same
it to
order
Corey.
as last week.
I think we beat the shit out of them.
Wow.
Ooh. Damn. That's a take.
I'm going to say Stroud comes back to earth in this game.
Okay.
We get 3 turnovers.
All from him.
Maybe a sack
Maybe
fumble?
not. 2. 2 from him, maybe 1 more.
You feeling 2 interceptions or interception and a fumble?
2 interceptions
Okay.
and maybe 1 fumble.
Oh wow.
I hope you're right. I hope y'all are right. That's a
I'm not going like we're going to score a crazy amount of points based on that. I just think our defense is going to show him something that he hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. I just think we're that good, and he hasn't seen it yet and doesn't say anything about him other than you're 5 games in the NFL and you don't have a turnover. Like law of averages tell me
That's where I'm attacking.
It's time for him to come back to earth a little bit.
NFL,
even if he's incredible.
Agreed.
And I'm not knocking him. It's like the NFL is too hard to go no turnovers in a 6 straight game for a rookie quarterback. I bet it's never been done. So I'm going to say we win based on that.
Don't put a record on us.
No,
we just got out of Belichick.
What's our score?
I'm going to say 23-16, but comfortable. 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns. Offensive MVP, Mike Thomas passed up Olave as our leading receptions guy this week. He's so fucking due for a touchdown. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be him. It's going to be 80 yards and a TD.
Kind of stole my guy.
On 12 catches?
Sorry. It might be, but he's averaging almost 11 this year. You wouldn't think it, but I think he's
that just jumped up this week, and it was under 10.
I think it's like 10.8.
Per catch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
He was under 10
but
until this week. So.
I mean, even in his prime, he was 12, Max.
Well, it's like we said last pod. They finally brought the yards per route run down, where they were running Mike
10.9,
30 yards,
10.9. He's almost 11. So that's where he's going to be at the end of the season too. Let's be honest.
They brought him back into the picture frame. You literally could see him on the screen.
And you know what? He's better than almost everyone in the league at that. Still,
Yeah.
What he's not better.
He's certainly better than anybody else on our team.
Correct.
It's like just.
And you know what he does? He catches it when it hits
Yeah.
his hands.
Yeah.
Our badass number 1 pick doesn't all the time.
Correct.
So
what you got for defense?
So I'm gonna say 7 for 80.
Okay.
Touchdown. Okay. Defense. I'm going to go split MVP.
Ooh.
And it's not going to be my guy. I'm going to go Alante gets an INT and Honey Badger gets an INT.
Okay. I can dig that.
I think they both get an INT. One of them's probably late in the game. I think one happens early in the game that kind of shifts the game to give us control. And we kind of control it. 23-16 doesn't sound like we control the game. I think we kind of control this game from halftime on.
Open with we're going to blow them out? What was the term you used?
Well, that's what I mean. Control the game. The whole game. It'll be a comfortable drinking beer, watching a Saints game, not the, are we going to fucking lose this at the end?
I like beer.
I think maybe their 16 is a late touchdown is what I'm saying. I think we feel comfortable after.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Second quarter, we're going to be like, okay, we're definitely the better team. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So it feels comfortable. Maybe the score doesn't look comfortable at the end. They score something late, whatever.
Right.
But I feel like this is, in my opinion, a very important game because this is the week 6. We're either 4-2 or 3-3. This is a team. If you are a playoff team, you beat. If you're not a playoff team, you don't beat.
Yep.
So
you're either 2 games above 500 or at 500. With the Jaguars coming to town the next week,
I'm going to stick with it. I still think we're a double-digit win team. I think the offense looks good, not great. If we score on 5 drives, that's all this offense needs to do.
Finish in the red zone.
Finish in the red zone 2 out of 3, let's say. And Groupie has a couple 45-plus field goals, kind of like last week.
It's indoors.
It feels like a comfortable but not blowout win. But I think we dominate the game.
Yeah, I think the Texans are just they're tough. They're a tough team to blow out. I kind of see them similar to the Titans, the way they present, maybe with not as crazy of a pass rush, although Will Anderson is intriguing. And if we don't bring our A game, then he can get his. But like I said earlier in this podcast about 45 minutes ago, I like our offense continuing to gel. And I'm kind of with Max about, I'm not calling it 27, but the offense scoring more points. Let's call it 31 for the Saints.
So you went over. You said...
I'm going over Max.
All right, okay.
Going over Max.
31. All right.
Going 31.
Good. All offensive, or you think we get a pick
I think
six
there might be the Saints might intercept CJ.
Get inside the 10 or something.
Get inside and then end up the Texans defense has a good stand and we kick a field goal. Don't get a touchdown.
Are
out
the
of it.
4 TDs offensive in this situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I think we can do it. I think we're gelling a little bit more.
So who scores them?
It's a very optimistic take. I get it. I think your offensive MVP. God, you took my guy.
Oh wait. Sorry, Texans score. What do you think? Did our defense just dominate him or no? We have 17 and 16 for me and Max so far. I love our defense in this matchup. I really do.
Yeah,
Should be a perfect matchup.
I'm gonna go with a 13.
13. I kind of like that. A team that
like
can't run the ball against our secondary on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, constant.
Like
that's hard.
3 scoring drives for them. One of them they get their touchdown in. Whether I don't know if it's early or late, but they get their touchdown in.
I mean, if it's 31-13, we
2 field goals.
Ass. Okay. Offensive.
Offensive MVP in this one. I mean, 2 of my guys are fucking gone.
They're not gone. Take them. It's okay.
Yeah, we can take multiple.
your
We
guy.
took Groupie last week. Both
We
of
both
us.
took Groupie, and he won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
I like MT in this one.
Okay.
I think he matches up well if it's man to man. I think their linebackers are gonna miss something in the zone. He can run around them. I don't know what his stats are gonna be, to be honest.
Pick some. Throw some out there.
I think.
Does he score?
Yeah, I think he gets touchdown. I like 8. I like a high number of. I like 8 catches for him.
Okay.
Just peppering him.
8 catches and a TD. That's what
Yeah.
you call. Okay.
Yardage could be anything.
Okay. Defense.
Literally. Defense. We go with my guy. He's coming back. He's reinstated.
Marcus May in the building, guys.
Oh, God.
Marcus May.
Oh, God.
What's he do?
Take the bottle away from him, please.
Dude,
Corey, this confidence, I think you need to bet this in
What's
some
that
sort
shit,
of parlay. Marcus May over 5 tackles and an interception, something. You make $1 million if you bet 60 cents.
I think he has.
He needs to do that.
He's got a couple tackles for loss, and
Okay, 2 TFL. What else? What else you got?
he's gonna have at least 2 pass defenses, and he's gonna be 3rd on the team in tackles.
What's that mean? Give me a number. Just pick a number of tackles. What's third?
I don't know.
6?
Last week I got to say a bunch of tackles.
6 tackles? 5? What's third?
Yeah, 6. At least 6.
6 tackles.
At least
Okay.
6 tackles.
That's
yeah.
good. All right. Just put a number on it. That way we can fuck with you if you mess it up. Maybe you nailed it.
You're gonna do that regardless. So
And you'll do it vice versa. But 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes defense, and 6 tackles. That
he's
could
coming
happen. All right.
he's coming in hot.
He's bringing his guy back from suspension.
That's right.
That scrub.
He hasn't played poorly in the games he's
He's
played.
done well this
He
year.
hasn't played in 3 games.
The games he played, he did well.
We're back to sample size of 2.
Yeah.
But he did play well. He got the
played well.
interception that someone
Someone
batted.
batted
yeah, I
to
don't-
him.
Yadam kicked it to him.
I don't
Give him
put
an
that interception on any level of skill on May's part.
He didn't drop it,
yeah,
so
he
I'll
was-
give him that level of skill.
Which is better than most
He was in the
DBs
right
over
place
the
at the
last
right
couple
time.
of years for us.
Yeah.
Johnny Poe would have dropped it.
Oh, God. That's reaching far into the bag.
All right, that's a good one. All right, so let's hope we're in good spirits come next week.
So all
after the
3
Tex-
said win.
We're saying
Yeah.
win, 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 and we're
Back
all
to win.
kind of saying comfortably.
Good God. You know what that means.
Y'all both have double-digit wins, and I said we're going to kind of run the game and only win by 7 at the end, but that we run the game. So
I'm the only one that put us in 30s.
30s
score.
That's optimistic.
I like it, but hey, it's a call.
It's certainly a call. I hope it's right. I hope he's right.
I'm hoping this is the MT game like Corey, though. I think that's where the offense moves.
I was thinking about him before we even got here tonight, and you said him like shit. Pick my guy.
We look the best when he's the focus. That's just reality.
I think for the
We do.
long-term
No, we
health,
do.
you want Kamara to be the guy this week to where he shows out.
That's
that,
fine.
to me, says we're in the best situation going forward.
Yeah.
Because to me, if MT's cooking, he's got it's one of those 11 or 12 catch games that goes for like 120 yards and a touchdown or 2.
What it needs to be is that like 6 or 7 catch game where he has the 40-yard touchdown.
That would be
what you-
fantastic.
Exactly.
You know, where he has that one explosive play that breaks a game.
That
You know,
would be
we saw it
amazing.
all the time with Drew back there. We haven't seen it since, unfortunately. But if he has that one explosive play where he breaks those 4 tackles like
amazing.
he does, and that would be amazing.
Yeah. Agreed.
But the old 12 for 120, that one definitely, that's imposing your will.
So you're not calling for the 13 for 33?
I was about to say.
Oh, God.
We don't want to see
We
that
do
again?
never.
And no NFL fan wants to see 13 for 30.
The next time Kamara has 13 catches, he better have 200 yards receiving.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, all right. So this was a great preview / State of the Saints running backs podcast. And
accidentally.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a good discussion. I mean, we certainly there's no question where we all stand on the Saints running backs at this point.
It will be funny though, 5 minutes after we stop recording, where Corey's going to concede something that I said, and we're going to be like, "Well, why didn't we just say that on the air? We would have ended this 20 minutes."
No,
before.
I'm not conceding shit.
Well, just remember it, and we'll bring it up next week.
Well, what Max is referring to is because we have
the last 2 weeks.
No, commented on our YouTube channel, which is kind of new, and go check it out if you haven't. But is the guy said, he's like, I don't agree about the Breeze wasn't failed. He's like, I think Breeze was failed. And my take on that podcast was they did not fail Breeze. And then the second we stopped recording, I was like, oh, you know what it was? Wasted him. They wasted him, not failed. And Max was like, why the fuck didn't you say that while we were recording?
We did at the end, did we?
I never said the word. I never said that word during the recording. So.
And then the week before was the assuming or maybe it was 2 weeks before.
Well, at the end, I said maybe we didn't completely fail him, but we didn't. What did I say? How did I phrase that?
No one used the word waste.
No one used the word wasted until Corey said it after. And the week before was the if versus assuming.
Well, I did say if on the. We had to do a whole exercise on that. But
both conversations would have been cut about 30 minutes out of the podcast.
By the way, most of the feedback I've gotten, Corey, you're on the wrong side of the rope on the Breeze thing.
Yeah, I've been catching that. I've been catching that too. That's fine. It's not the first time.
He lives on that side of the road.
The first time I've gotten that, I'm okay. I can take it. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, but I can't. There's nothing else I can say about the running back thing. So there's nothing I'm going to say off air.
I think we covered it. What's good?
So.
I think at the end we were kind of in agreement, you know, on what it was. So
maybe the number of carries was different, some of that, but I think we all see.
Yeah, Max said 15. I'd probably go with like 14.
15's a lot. I agree. 15's a lot. That's a lot of carries in it. I mean, if you
let me don't start it. Don't start it.
Yeah.
Don't start it.
But that's 250 plus carries a year. That's a lot of carries.
Couldn't agree
that's
more.
That's 15 over entire 17 games. I didn't say 15 over 17 games.
Okay, and that's going to do it for another episode.
I said work up to that point.
Oh, Jesus.
Still a lot of carries. Still a lot of carries. It's a lot.
Oh, boy.
But I agree with the 750. All right, I'm done with talking about it.
We're going to have to seriously start our, shoot more than game after dark for the running back conversation.
Oh, it's after dark. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up, man.
All right. That was a good preview episode.
And much more.
Much more. State of the Saints running backs plus preview. You'll see us after the Saints play the Texans on the flip side. Let's get a win out of this one. Who dat? Until next time. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the 28-3 podcast.
What a comeback!